Janet, simple description, brand therapist. I guess, just unpack it for us, and for maybe by discussing this, this conundrum.
I think it goes back.
Okay, so what is not a brand, and what offering can be termed a brand, and how does that link to what Mike has just alluded to?
Yeah, I think it goes back to what Mike was saying about, I think brands don't often have the language, or the marketers don't have the language to talk to the agencies, don't have the language to talk to the CEO, don't have the language to talk to the CFO to get the money. And so there's all this kind of language and dialogue happening. And at the end of the day, I think for me, brand is an organizing principle. And if you can get everybody fluent in what that brand stands for and how it works and how it operates and how you use it, then it makes everything much more efficient. It kind of like is a sort of short circuit AI trick. So I think as a brand therapist, my job is to kind of get everybody in a room, hold hands and go, okay guys, how does this all work? Because this one's doing this, wasting money here, spending here, not getting the right results that you're looking for. The consumer's sitting somewhere, you're trying to connect with them. But at the end of the day, the common denominator is brand. And your brand story or your brand kind of whatever underpins that is how are you going to connect. And so for me, a lot of the struggles that brands have is because they're not fluent, because they don't know who they are. They don't really, you've got a strategy document and you've got a positioning, but then you can't translate that into work. You can't translate that into something that's actually going to be meaningful.
Cool.
And so my job is almost a kind of translator, I guess.
I mean, yes, you do mention that brand does not sit in the marketing team.
No.
Okay, it doesn't sit in the market. Do you want to unpack, thereof? And the principles basically of brand building, but most importantly, what is not a brand? Because these days, after one or two, whatever, a brand this, a brand this, a brand this.
Yeah. It's become a kind of a catch-all term, and I think the challenge is that everything is a brand, and it's whatever you associate with that. So, I come from a design background, so the logo was the brand. No, the brand is what you feel and what you remember and how that story relates to you. And I think the challenge is that it's seen as a marketing function, but it's in everything. It's how you make decisions. And so, I mean, I've always had a thing that, brand should be part of your kind of assets. It's not a marketing budget. It's part of it's like a computer or a thing. It's a thing that you own, that you build, that you grow over time, and that becomes your ownable asset. But the CFO is not thinking about brand like that because it's creative and it's a nice to have and it's a thing. But no, it's not. It's the thing that's going to get you the money at the end of the day because that's going to make the sale. And so brand has done not a good job of positioning itself because it's seen as this logo, it's seen as an identity, or it's seen as a campaign. So let's all just remember that brand is not a campaign. It's a long-term agenda. So look after your assets and look after what you're trying to tell, and be clear about what that story is. Because I just had a situation where a very and no names mentioned because I'm a therapist and I can't divulge. But somebody, a client was going to get rid of an asset, a character that has been with this brand for 10 years. They've spent a shit ton of money building the equity into this thing, and then the agency comes and goes, well, it's kind of ugly and we don't know how to use it, and let's get rid of it. And I'm like, because you've spent all that money, you just don't know how to use it. So work out why that thing exists and then how to use it. And that's the challenge that I have, is that it's advertising and kind of marketing has created spin and a very, very fast-paced environment, and you're reactionary, as opposed to, I think, what used to happen was there was a plan, and everybody kind of went with the plan. But strategies become kind of bitty and add-on and reactionary, as opposed to going, what's the foundation? What are you trying to do? What are you trying to achieve? What are you trying to sell? What's your role? And so that's, I guess,
cool.
Diatribe.
No, thanks for that. And in the book, you unpack a number of what I term brand advices. And do you want to share maybe the 3 most important out of the ones that you list in there, and why those 3? Or maybe you can make it 4. I mean, it's your those are your advices.
Okay, I would start with, and this is it's going to be controversial, I guess. Authenticity. So much time is spent navel gazing and then looking at self and then looking at competitors, and your world is this big. And the challenge is that when the world becomes this big, then everything starts looking the same, and everything starts just becoming like part of the same story. So you start looking the same. It's your example with, you put an actor in, put your hand on the logo, no one knows what the hell it is. So authenticity. And even if the thing that is authentic about you is something not great, that's still something. That's still something that you own. And that's something that makes you distinctive. It's something that people would recognize. So authenticity, know who you are and be okay with that. And start telling that story and be confident with that story. Not what your competitor's doing, not what this person's doing, not what this influencer's doing, who you are. Because that's the thing that's going to connect with consumers. Consumers are like, they just want to connect. They just want to connect with something that's relevant. So authenticity.
Cool.
Then consistency. Consistency is like, so go back to the story of the little character that was going to be destroyed. People don't have time to keep being reintroduced to you. So when you do a rebrand, when you do a thing, and you keep changing your look and feel, and you keep changing all of the stuff, you have to spend an inordinate amount of time and money to reconnect with consumers. So just don't get bored of your assets. That's all I can say. Work with your assets. Understand what you have, what goals you have. There's tweaks and there's refinements and there's all sorts of things that you can do, but don't get rid of it, because it's really problematic. And then I guess the last one is be relevant. And so there's this crazy tension between what I see is a lot of research and a lot of what do consumers think. Consumers don't know. They don't know what they don't know. And I think there's it's finding the thing that makes you relevant to that consumer that is going to be the thing that sticks. And that is the thing that creates the experience, that keeps the flywheel going, that makes it go and makes the brand more efficient and more economical over time. Okay. So those are my 3.
Cool.